Hi, everyone, and welcome to the special simulcast, the Neil Haley Show and the Reset Medical and Wellness Center podcast. I'm the presenter, Neil Haley, and my guest today is Cori, and she's from the Reset Medical and Wellness Center. How are you, Cori? You're going to talk about what you do at Reset and also kind of some of the amazing stories that we've been talking about on this podcast.
Yeah. Hi, thank you for having me, Neil. So my name is Cori. I'm one of the nurses over at Reset. I've been here almost since the beginning of the opening and work with some of our amazing patients to really change lives. Um, from a day-to-day kind of standpoint, what we do is we really bring patients in and we treat them like family. We've seen some amazing success stories come through, and a lot of us, like our patients, have dealt with different trauma, different forms of anxiety, and a lot of us have went through the treatment as well. And so we really do feel like our patients are family, and we treat one another just the same. Um, from our own experiences to seeing great outcomes come from our patients.
So tell me kind of the story of how you started working for Reset.
Yeah, so I've known Dr. Louwers for a long time. Had the opportunity to come in and kind of shadow to see what they were doing. I always tell patients I was kind of the most reluctant person coming in, and Dr. Louwers just kept saying, "Watch, you'll see the change in patients. Watch, you'll see." And I always would say, "Okay, let's see what this really does." Um, and coming in and really just having that one-on-one experience with patients, not only was I able to provide the nursing care that I've always wanted to, but always also just seeing the changes. So it was like the first week I was here, I was like, all right, let's see what this really does for patients. And I saw the first patient come out, and from day one to day two, they were like a new person. The next week, we were able to treat more patients, and kind of the same thing. I was able to witness day one, a patient come in and have kind of a flat affect, not very talkative. We did the stellate ganglion block for them, also known as the Neuro Sympathetic Reset. And we saw the same patient the next day. He walked in, and I was like, "You don't even look like the same person." He's like, "I'm not. I'm a completely new person." And so just seeing that change time and time again for all of our patients really changed my outview and outlook on kind of what we were doing here, how much we were really affecting and changing patients' lives. About 6 months ago, I was also treated with the neurosympathetic reset and saw huge outcomes from that. And it really, even for myself, changed my life.
Seeing that transformation. So yourself. So that there goes
Mhm.
the thing I didn't know the backstory. So you
Yeah.
too did it. So you saw these amazing transformations and you said, I got to do this, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
why? Right. You know, a lot of times you think of a story, you don't think of someone who's a nurse, but again, as a nurse, I'm sure you've dealt with trauma just like other doctors have or people in the military we talk about, and also we talk about specifically enough law enforcement.
Mhm.
And so, how did you kind of identify you needed this treatment?
Yeah, I think for myself personally, a lot of insomnia, um, overall, just feeling like anxious with little things would keep me up at night. And again, yes, as you know, working in the healthcare field, going through COVID, we've seen a lot of, heartbreaking stories, a lot of stress from that. And I think, like anybody else, a lot of day to day, just little things that add up over a period of time. And it really was when it started impacting my sleep and kind of affecting my productivity and my day to day that I took a step back and said, like, this is time to make a change. I've seen all these patients walk through the door. I've helped lead their way through there. Like, why am I not taking advantage of this for myself?
What did you think? Like you said, the insomnia, is that because of some of the things you've dealt with as a nurse in your career, or is it more than even stems back to childhood too?
Yeah, a little bit of both. A lot of mine, I worked inpatient in the hospital during COVID, and even just dealing with the stress of COVID. I think a lot of healthcare workers went through that, and being short staffed and being tight with different things and dealing with very, very sick patients, specifically during COVID. Um, so a lot of mine came from that. And then also just kind of, everything from childhood to just dealing with the stress of, taking care of family members and kind of running a household. The things just kind of added up.
Mm. And you saw a lot of it, you said, during COVID. So you really
Absolutely.
started after that, stop sleeping as well. When did you
Yes.
start seeing the sleep issues?
Yeah.
Probably
So
after.
probably, I've been that person who sleeps minimally for a couple of years. 4 to 5 hours was kind of my average on a good night.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know, seeing the change with our own patients and seeing how much better that they were sleeping, even just on the first day after treatment, I was like, okay, all right, maybe it's time.
Exactly. So did you see anything else once you had the reset done?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I didn't tell a whole lot of people that I had it done. Very few people knew. Coming out of the procedure felt immediately, even after the first day, just felt fantastic. Um, and by the next week, someone who didn't know I had the procedure done said to me, "Hey, you seem like your old self again." And I think it was probably a week and a half, 2 weeks later that I had the best comment ever of someone saying, like, "Hey, your kids are happier than they've ever been. What changed?" And so it was really, even for me, just making the change of doing the tasks because you need to play with your kids or you need to sit and have dinner. Moving from just doing tasks to actually being present was the biggest change for me,
I
and
think,
not stressing
yeah,
about everything else.
I think any type of service field where you constantly have to serve in some sort of capacity, where there's a high stress position like you as a nurse,
Mhm.
that ultimately it's hard for you to shut down, right?
Right. Mhm.
Walk away after a long day, especially with lots of stressors, things that you can't control, and then say, okay, now I'm going to go back to my normal life after work, and I'm not able to deal with it as well. It's
Right.
very hard for me to wind down. And that's that we talked about that fight flight mechanism with Dr. Louwers many times on this
Mm.
podcast and other people. But I can it's amazing to know once you felt that, like, so instead of just responding as a parent, I think many parents have gone through those stressors as well. As being a parent, it's a stressful thing, and it
Mhm.
can affect you in so many ways. It doesn't matter who you are and what you've gone through, that you never get a break. And now you finally have figured it out. I have a break how I feel. You can feel more, it sounds like.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Even small things from like just getting ready in the morning of like get your clothes, get your breakfast, that changed significantly. That stress was kind of not eliminated completely because getting everybody ready in the morning, but just reduced. And I think that overall, our family in general was just much, much happier.
And see, that's tremendous. And
Mhm.
that's why a lot of people should have this. I know that there's a specific protocol, what you've gone through to be able to get this, but it just seems like
Mhm.
a lot of people could utilize this. I mean,
Right.
because it's just something where we are all under stress, every one of us, with what's going on in our lives right now, and anything from economy to anything, and you're in a high stressful position. The thing is, if you're already starting stressed, you're not going to be able to really do your best. And sleep is one of the biggest things. I think that's where you're seeing the biggest effects is getting a good night's sleep. So how many hours are you sleeping now?
Yeah. So on average, like 8 hours a night, I'm sleeping, which is huge. I don't think I've probably slept that much in 5, 6 years. So it was huge for me, which in turn, even too, I tell a lot of our patients, like productivity wise, now you've got good sleep, kind of just working and being more productive, and the fact that you're able to have good sleep, but also some of that background noise, that anxiety, the stress has been not fully eliminated, but much quieter and much easier to cope with, also makes it easier for you to make decisions and be effective. And so, from a work standpoint, also, that really has been huge for me. Um, Being able to make those changes and just go, okay, I'm going to make a decision today. I'm not going to sit and think about it for the next 5 days. We're going to make a decision and go with it. So, productivity wise, it's been fantastic, also.
I made a decision once I figured out how bad not sleeping. I chose not
Yeah.
to sleep a lot and
Yeah.
work those four and like sleep those 4.5 hour days or 6 hour days, and then crash on the weekends to the level of not even
Mm,
being able to function. Sleep is so important.
it is. Yeah.
And I think that's where you see a lot of those other effects becoming better. And I think also once you feel more, you are able to identify the problem and solve it, or coming up with a solution for every problem versus the reaction, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And being able to do that with less, I would say, less background noise. When I talk to a lot of our patients, we talk about this background noise of we're running at 100 miles an hour, and it's very difficult to feel through things and make decisions. And even if you're going to therapy, have effective therapy when you can't filter out all of these other things that are going on in your mind. And that's where the reset, neurosympathetic reset, really does help to bring people down to a baseline to be able to work through those things, whether it's, home life, whether it's work, or just, day to day decisions that we need to make, that we become more effective, more driven in the fact that we're able to work through that.
Right. And being able to work through that, that's a challenge. And you
Right.
have to really go through that. So once you figure it out and identify that, that leads to less problems. A lot of times our reaction causes the rest of our day to be terrible. And
Absolutely.
and I think that you've learned also working with the patients, right? To see the
Hmm.
patient from day one to day two, and then you guys do lots of outreach as well and see them later, and you're like, you heard about what they were and where they're at, and you're like, wow, if they can do this, I can do this as well. And I think once you get the NSR treatment, you're like, okay, I need to work on myself more. I
Hmm.
know I've already seen these great effects, but it's just the beginning of the process, right? You've worked on
Right.
a lot of things about yourself after going through that, didn't you?
Yes, absolutely. And when we talk to patients, like, this is the first day of changing your life. And it really is for a lot of our patients coming in here. A lot of times we see people at their worst, at kind of their breaking point, even for myself, like, I was not functioning. And for us to take this as a starting point and say, this is a great place. Let's work on this and use those other modalities, whether it's therapy, whether it's music, exercise, anything that works for you to help you get to wherever we're at for this baseline, but not only come there, but maintain that. So it's a whole process of, we work on this through the NSR and bringing you back down, but then continuing to take care of yourself through those other modalities as well.
And what you're able to recognize is how much where you were at and how you couldn't go
Right.
work on yourself. You know, we're never taught to work on ourselves, right? But it's
Right.
one of the best things in the world to work on yourself. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we don't want to take the time to work on ourselves. And I think when you're in that phase of not getting enough sleep, going through certain stressors, unless you're able to reset yourself, you're not going to be able to work on yourself. That's where therapy works better once you've worked on yourself
Mm-hmm.
versus in that stage of fight and flight. And you were from being a trauma nurse to saying, okay, now I'm in this position. I'm in a much better place.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Now
Yeah.
let's talk about also the what do you think was the greatest patient story without giving a name away? Because I know we have
Yeah.
all the stories by going ahead and subscribing to the Reset Medical's YouTube channel. There's a tons of testimonials there,
Mhm.
and also on the website. But just talk about, one of your favorite stories.
Yeah, so I think, we see amazing stories and amazing patients come through every single day. The story that always stands out to me the most is that I had a patient who came in, day one, really didn't want to speak to many people, very, very quiet, pleasant. We did the procedure, came out. The second day they came in, much more talkative. We did the second side for the NSR. And in recovery, I, tend to sit with the patients, talk to them, make sure that they're doing well. If there's anything that they need, we take care of it. And again, we treat them like family. We've been through this, majority of us, and we want them to feel the same way. And the patient looked at me and said, I don't know what this feeling is. And I said, well, what are you feeling? What's going on? And he said, I feel love. And I'm not able to feel that. I don't know what this is. I haven't felt like I'm loved or have that feeling for probably 25 years. And it really, like, that's the one that sticks with me all the time, is just that somebody who had really shut down didn't even know what love felt like anymore, or happiness. And immediately after the procedure was like, broke down in tears. I feel like I'm loved. And it was just such a beautiful story, to see somebody who came in so very kind of guarded really open up like that.
I totally agree. Wow.
Yeah.
Some great stories. And where is the best place people can go? What is the website people can check out everything about Reset Medical? Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Come see us at Reset Medical. We're here in Strongsville. You can check us out online. We have a fantastic team that is willing to answer any questions that anyone has. If you're able to check it out, our actual facility, we're here. We're happy to walk you around. And we treat you guys like family. We have a fantastic physician that works here and a fantastic medical team.
Oh, it's unbelievable. When you go
Mhm.
there, you will be blown away. Absolutely, to see how amazing it is. And go to the resetcenter.com and check out all the information. And then make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast and share it with somebody, because I don't think I've not seen transformation stories like this. So
Right.
amazing, so quickly. A lot of times it takes a long time for that transformation story, not transforming in 1 to 2 days. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks again, Cori.
All
Appreciate it.
right. Thank you. Have a good day.
That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and the Reset Medical and Wellness Center podcast, guys. Take care.